everyone. Welcome back. I am Dr. Vernita Glenn White, known as Dr. V, life strategist and empowerment coach. I am also the CEO and founder of the Vibe Institute. Yes, I say it like that. Where we help high achievers and professionals vibe higher in their influence, brilliance, and excellence to be their most empowered selves. And as a result of working with us, individuals break their personal glass ceilings and show up to be their most powerful selves in life and career. So, we have been on this journey of going through my new book, Embracing Grit for Greatness: How to Become Professionally Powerful Through Personal Empowerment. I've talked to you about we're going through the grit check-ins, right? Big U and little U. And in this book, I talk about my personal journey of my personal growth journey and how that allowed me to understand what was happening back then professionally, and then how I use all of that to step up in my professional life as a college professor, and then branch off and break out to starting my own business. Now, the funny thing is, I've had my business on file like for years, but I kept stopping at a certain point, or I didn't put myself out there, and I kept getting stuck or allowing myself to get stuck, and I couldn't understand why. And I thought, well, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this. And then I got then I got evidence. I was able to get some pretty big contracts with universities on training their in-service and pre-service teachers, working with their school district, speaking for, I got paid to speak before, where I had always been speaking at conferences for free, but then there was still something that was stopping me. There was still something with all of the success I had. It was still something like I had to figure out. And that's what really started me on my personal development journey. And then I'm still always on a personal development journey, but I saw results when I was able to step into another season of my life. And even now, like, I'm going through all of this with you. And I wrote this book from my experience, but even now, as I'm transitioning to another seat or another place of my business, I also have to go back through these same characteristics that I'm sharing with you, and these same check-ins, right? Because we're never done. We just go to different levels. So if you're new, welcome. And if you're oldie but a goodie, I'm glad you came back. Seeing some of your messages so far and some of your comments, really touched my heart that, either you got the book and it's been great for you, or you haven't purchased the book, but you're excited because you're seeing, I'm touching that nerve, or that what is it? I'm hitting a spot for you. It's like, ooh, I may need to need to look at this a little bit, like almost like poking the bear. And that's what we need. We need someone to poke our bear for us to wake up and to be our most powerful selves. So if I'm doing that for you, great. Thank you. That is the point. I do want this to be lighthearted, but I also want you to take some action and move, because that's what's been our issue. And I say our, right there with you on certain things. But I've learned how to take even more action when I'm feeling a certain way. But that's not what you're here for. We're going through this series about this grit check-in, just as either a starting point for personal development, or a tune-up, right? So the 5 areas of grit, I talk about this and why I chose grit. Areas are courage, conscientiousness, endurance, resilience, and then excellence over perfection. In these series, I talk about big U in one situation, then I talk about little U in another situation. Big U represents who you are professionally, in business, accomplish you, all of that, the you that you show to the world. And then little U is who you are when no one's watching, or that voice inside of you that keeps you from going to your next level, or who you are when you have to be around certain friends or family members. That's little U. And little U will never go away, but we can check little you and put them in place. All right. But before we can do that, we have to acknowledge and celebrate our bigness. And as high achievers or top professionals, we don't often do that. A lot of times we just take it for granted. And that's not, we do it subconsciously, actually. We think we're being humble, but we're not. We're discounting all of the great things that we've done. We've accomplished some amazing things, and we haven't taken the time to sit with it, to acknowledge the work we had to do, and to celebrate ourselves, because everyone didn't make it. Everyone didn't make it, right? So, and then, and if you're wondering, like, if you want to do more, well, guess what? If you don't celebrate where you are and what you've accomplished at this point, why would you? I say God, or you could say universe. Why would God give you more when you haven't appreciated your now? All right, so let's jump in. If you don't know, I do read the grit check-ins to you. This just helps me keep it on target. This is not to insult your intelligence. And then some of you may not buy the book, and I want to make sure you get as much value out of this lesson as possible. Now, it would be more beneficial for you to purchase the book, and I'll tell you about that at the end. But in the meantime, we're going to go through, and they're short, so you won't be here forever. So this is endurance, big U, and the quote is, beyond talent, like all the usual words, discipline, love, luck, but most of all, endurance. James Baldwin. Endurance is one of those things. I think I talk about this in the book, and I'll read it. But sometimes endurance, we think about athletes and in the sports arena, and it's like, well, they have so much endurance, but we don't really apply that to our professional or personal lives, right? So part of grit, when I was going through this process and looking at some characteristics, I was like, yeah, endurance definitely is a part of having grit. And it says, many of us endure mountains of hardships and obstacles to achieve our goals. We endure through financial hardships, sacrifice a level of our health and well-being, and at times we suffer through criticism and judgments of others. Why do we do this? For the sake of our professional and career goals. Because we're driven and we decided in our minds that we will succeed no matter what. There is a level of commitment that we can't explain. If you think about it, I'm sure you haven't taken the time to acknowledge your level of endurance as it relates to your professional accomplishments. And I'm reading this again for the first time with you all. So that's why I'm smiling. Like, I say what I said at the beginning, and I was like, oh, I really did write that. So yeah, I'm not pre-reading, even though I wrote the book. I'm reading this again for the first time with you all. Endurance is easy to overlook since it's actually associated with athleticism rather than professional success. Oh, this one is a little longer, by the way. For athletes, their endurance is visible. They show up to the practice court, the field, pool, or etc., and spend hours a day crafting their tasks. They have rigorous schedules, extremely healthy eating habits when they're in season, and their confidence is displayed at every game or competition. However, professional success can be measured in the same way. Did you know that? Whatever it was through, whether it was through traditional school or being self-taught, and again, I told you, like, my definition of high achievers and things like that is not always about formal academics or education. Whether it's being self-taught, you spend hours a day honing your skills to achieve a goal. You may have spent long hours at work making sure the presentation went above and beyond what was expected, because that's why we're high achievers or sometimes overachievers. Maybe you took the time to research, gather stories, and to write a book. Or perhaps you went from being an assistant manager to a vice president of a company in a short amount of time. Regardless of the achievement or the length of time it took to accomplish it. Sometimes we think because something came quickly, we're like, oh, and we discount it. So for example, I finished my PhD program in 3 years. And people are like, oh my God, how did you do that? It takes like 5 to 7 years. Well, in my circle, a lot of us finished in 3 years. And that's what we set out to do. But I used to be like, oh, well, maybe I didn't really earn it because it didn't take me 5, 7, 10 years to do it. Mm-mm. It took me 3 years and I still accomplished and I'm still a doctor. So that's why I put that in there. Sometimes we have had favor or been blessed enough or a situation just worked out to where we collapse space and time. Sometimes that happens. All right, back to reading. But guess what? You did it anyway. Think of a time when you had to endure the process of achieving a goal. You probably haven't recognized the unclockable hours, right? Of work you endured to position yourself to accomplish that goal. I want you to take all of that in. So think of a goal right now. Acknowledging the amount of work, time, effort, and level of follow through you put in, whether directly or indirectly, how do you now feel about your accomplishment? Have a little bookmark too. Isn't that cool? You can write on it. I need to find out how to get these to people. But yeah, think about one of your accomplishments that you did and whether, look, like I said, we're not going to really talk about the actual amount of time because either way, whether it was 1 year or 5 years or 10 years, there was still a level of endurance that came with that. And that's why I wrote unclockable hours. Sometimes we don't see the amount of time, like every little bit counts where we had to do that goal to accomplish that goal, whether it was make a phone call, write an email, make copy, do an outline, put some slides together one day, then put in the words the next, all of that. I want you to think about something and how long, well, I don't want to say how long, I don't want you to discount it, but the amount of energy, that's what we'll say for endurance, the amount of energy you had to expend energy? How much energy you had to put in to reach that goal, and sit with that and recognize, like, you know what? This took a lot, right? Me writing this book, like, even though it didn't take me a whole year, it took you, it was a short amount of time, but I compacted that time, and it still took energy and effort and endurance to write all of this and to edit and to do all of that. If you're in corporate, the effort that it took you from going from when you first started to that entry job to that management position where you are. And it wasn't just showing up to work every day. It was all of the small things, the proposals, the deals you had to close, whatever the case may be, right? So I want you to think about that and give yourself credit for the endurance, the energy, the time, all of that, and just sit with it and celebrate yourself. And if you're bold enough, go ahead and write that in the comments below. I would love to see the goal and what it took to accomplish that goal. Because like I said, as high achievers, we can list out things that we've done. Okay, great. But then we don't really sit with what it took for us to get there. Right? So do that for me. And I can't wait to read what you have to say. So if you're interested and you want to purchase the book, you can go to embracinggritforgreatnessbook.com, embracinggritforgreatnessbook.com. It is also available on Amazon. And then once you purchase, make sure you save your order number and then come back to the site, because then I want you to get those special bonuses that I have created for you as a thank you, one, for purchasing the book, and then that's just another way of me providing some additional value for you along this journey, because I don't want this to be the end of the road for you. But yeah, I'm excited. We've covered a lot so far. We still have a lot more to talk about, and I can't wait to see you next time. I am Dr. V, and thank you for listening and learning with me. I will see you next time. Bye.